Welcome back. I am Serena. The collapse of Kamala Harris. What does this mean? This is a title from a piece on Newsweek just published, and I thought let's do a readout and share the insights with you, whether we agree or not, and then we can discuss in the comments. Wonderful to have you. I'm so glad that you are subscribed. If you aren't already, please do consider doing so. I am a commentator and an analyst, commentator mostly on this channel. I've been in media and communications for 20 plus years, and I create on multiple channels. But here we talk about socio-political matters in order to improve our media literacy and critical thinking. As well as that, I deliberately sit on the fence, although I think my biases creep in because we are all biased. We all have subjective mental models. We're walking around the world with our subjectivity. As long as we are aware of it, I don't have my biased merch to hand to show you on camera, but I think that will do. Let's go straight to the Newsweek piece. I will share my screen if you wish to have a visual. Otherwise, enjoy the audio. So this is from Newsweek. I found it on Ground News. I am an affiliate. If you want to know more about Ground News, then I'll read out a little bit. So you want to stay up to date with events around the world, and it can be difficult because where do you consult a single source for the full story? Narratives basically shape public opinion and reinforce media and corporate backed vested interests. So that's why I use Ground News. It's an app and a website, combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. There is more to it. You can learn about it by going through to the link in my description. You can subscribe with 15% off and use the Vantage plan as I do to get unlimited access to every single feature. So, the collapse, the collapse of Kamala Harris. Let's go straight to this Newsweek piece. So let's get rid of this bit. So let's come straight through to the title. On July 26th, let's make sure that you can see this properly. I think you can. Let me know if you can in the comments and if everything is okay with this format of video. So let's go to the top. This is a Newsweek piece, just to let you know. Let me quickly go to where I found this. So this is on Ground News, the collapse of Kamala Harris. Democrats have no one to blame but themselves. Bias distribution is about 50-50 left and right, conservative and Republican. And there are only two articles, one center, one is right. I'm reading the one from Newsweek, and it's mixed factuality, it's center, and the media conglomerates are IBT media. So that's how much detail you get with Ground News. So let's go to it. So this is published today, early morning, and let's get into it. On July 26th, in the aftermath of the Democratic Party's ruthless summer coup of their own democratically elected presidential nominee, this column predicted that the elevation of dim-witted, oh dear, this is going to be, okay, strap in. This is going to be quite harsh, okay? This is going to be quite harsh. So be ready. Be ready. Okay. The column predicted that the elevation of dim-witted cackler-in-chief Kamala Harris to the party's presidential slot would spectacularly backfire. More specifically, I wrote practically the path to winning 270 electoral college votes still runs through the Rust Belt states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. It is frankly bizarre for Democrats to swap out the man who talks ceaselessly about his hard scrabble Scranton upbringing for a Californian who boasts the most left-wing voting record of any presidential nominee in modern history. This is by Josh Hammer, who is Newsweek's senior editor at large and host of the Josh Hammer Show. Let us continue. So, I'm feeling pretty good these days about that prognosis, he says. Harris recently campaigned in Pennsylvania, a crucial regional hub in this election cycle's most important battleground state. Conspicuously absent from Newsfest was incumbent Senator Bob Casey. Harris tried to pass off the snub as a nothing burger, suggesting that Casey doing the more important work of knocking on doors and get out the vote. This doesn't pass the laugh test, facing a spirited challenge from Republican Dave McCormick. Casey has clearly concluded that Harris's immense Bay Area lefty baggage, her history of endorsing the Green New Deal, a national fracking ban, and crippling electric vehicle mandates is an electoral albatross around his neck. It's tough to blame Casey, he continues. Other vulnerable Senate Democratic incumbents, such as Sherrod Brown and reached the same conclusion a while ago. Such conclusion makes a great deal of sense. A recent Marist national general election poll, for instance, shows Trump a whopping 10 points on Harris with registered independents. If that margin ends up being anywhere near accurate, it is extraordinarily difficult to see a scenario in which Trump loses. Harris has recently been engaging in what the psychology profession calls projection, ludicrously criticizing Donald Trump for avoiding the media when it was actually Harris who infamously avoided a single one-on-one sit-down interview for weeks on end. And following the Biden coup, in reality, Trump recently sat down for 2 interviews with Time magazine. And just let me know what your thoughts were of those in the comments. So Trump recently sat down for 2 interviews with Time magazine, whose owner is a vocal Harris donor. Harris declined a Time interview nonetheless. Prior to this week's desperate last-second chance, of course, which saw her sit down with Fox News' Brett Baer, and that's the reaction that I did just yesterday. Harris had only designed to sit down. Harris had only deigned to sit down with the most obsequious obsequious media imaginable. I need my biased mug here with my coffee so I can wake up. So let's repeat that. Prior to this week's desperate last second change, of course, which saw her sit down with Fox News' Brett Baer, Harris had only deigned to sit down with the most obsequious media imaginable. One can only wonder how bad the Harris-Walz internal polling must be to impel her to ditch far left, call her daddy podcast, and the friendly ladies of The View for the considerably more mainstream Bayer. You can tell I'm waking myself up without my coffee. Desperate times, sure, call for desperate measures. Democrats routinely blast Republicans as misogynistic, but their own chronic misandry is so bad that Kamala is apparently considering a sit-down with podcast king Joe Rogan, whose own brand of woke, skeptical irreverence sharply clashes with Harris's identity politics obsessions and overt race-based pandering. The tables sure have turned. Will the last person hanging around Harris-Walz campaign headquarters please turn off the lights? Snark aside, this race isn't over yet, but the Harris-Walz camp cannot possibly be feeling too good right now either. Democrats have no one to blame but themselves for their predicament. Throughout this interminable campaign season, they have studiously avoided substantive discussion of the 4 issues that Americans consistently tell pollsters are most important to them this cycle: the economy, inflation, immigration, and crime. Instead, they have repeatedly attempted to shift the electoral terrain back to the few issues that poll in their favor, namely abortion and the Jan 6th jamboree at the Capitol. In this, completely failed. The American people still care, above all, about the same 4 basic quality of life issues that they have cared the most about for years now. It is Democrats' own fault that they are so woefully out of touch with the voters' sentiments on these issues, and that the Biden Harris administration's track record polls as poorly as it. Perhaps if the Harris Waltz ticket does go down in flames, Democrats will pause and take a long, hard look in the mirror. Perhaps they will recognize that promising late term abortion is a peculiar way to pander to women, that pledging mass amnesty for illegal aliens is a counterproductive way to pander to Hispanics, and that dangling marijuana legalization is an outright offensive way to pander to blacks. Perhaps, but if history is any indication, they probably won't. To find out about Josh Hammer and read features by other creators, syndicate writers, and cartoonists, visit the Creators Syndicate website. So, again, that was a column from Josh Hammer, The Collapse of Kamala Harris, an opinion piece on Newsweek. And just to show you again on ground news how that was essentially flagged to me as a piece of interest for me, if I quickly go to Blind Spot. Now, Blind Spot is a really interesting space. If I click on there, it'll show you for the left, for the right, stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Once again, what you get with ground news is news from thousands of sources worldwide in one place. You can see who is funding each publication. You can compare coverage and think critically about the information that you consume. You can verify the information and know where your news is coming from. See what the media is exaggerating, sensationalizing, over or under reporting. Access the diverse perspectives we all want. Get news from sources you otherwise would have missed. And for all of this, you can get 15% off any subscription I use Advantage plan. The link is in my description. Now let's go to a tweet I saw. Now, clearly, I can't verify the integrity of this thought opinion. Again, this is an opinion from somebody on X called Bitcoin for Freedom. I thought it was interesting to share over here. This person's called Jason Bitcoin for Freedom. And they say, I can't stand Donald Trump. He is braggy. He insults people for no reason. And he is just a brutal personality. But my mind is made up. I'm voting for him. And here's why. And here are some bullet points. I do love a bullet point list. He puts Americans and their well being first. Kamala will not. He will bring Elon Musk into his cabinet to be the efficiency czar and get rid of waste. This alone may be the best single reason to vote for him. He will bring Robert Kennedy Jr. into his cabinet to make American healthy again. Sorry, America healthy again. He'll finally get to the bottom of why our food companies are destroying the health of our children. I'm sick of the way the media lies continuously about Donald Trump, starting with the incessant racism claims. They are just nonsense. The latest thing I learned, he sent his plane to fly Nelson Mandela home after the US wouldn't do it. Racist? No. Okay, I'm sick of the US being embroiled in foreign wars. Trump will keep us out of them again. He's just crazy enough that foreign nations will stand down. They have no formula. They will fear him. Trump sees this country as fundamentally good. Kamala sees it as inherently evil. How do you get to that conclusion? Trump will end nonsense of the open border, which makes our country less secure, less financially stable, and bring in millions of people. And that brings in millions of people illegally who compete for Americans' jobs. I think we also need to look at actual stats for that, by the way, because we have the same, I would say, it's not controversy, but the same level of complaint and concern with immigration in the UK. He will stockpile Bitcoin. There you go, we have his bias right there. He will keep men out of women's bathrooms and women's sport. He is a heavyweight personality and negotiator. Kamala is a phony personality and a lightweight negotiator. The people who want Kamala Harris to win are the most annoying people in the country. They have pushed for pronouns, masks, endless vaccines, cancel culture, riots, blatant racism towards white, gender confusion, undermining the US Constitution. He will upset the current political scene, the victim of assassination 3 times, and he keeps going. It's not the best in interviews, but at least he puts himself out there over and over and over. Kamala hasn't done a single press conference. This makes me think of something that actually I'm going to stop sharing that. We get the drift, Bitcoin person. This gets me thinking about something that a thinker, a writer, a creator who is in my network. And at the time, I was doing some work with at the time when I think it was 2016, before 2016, when before Trump was first elected. And it's something that they said that they got a lot of pushback for. And that was about the authenticity of Trump. And that's why people like him. And that's why he'll get into office. And a lot of people didn't like that. I remember when they said this, they really didn't like that. Because they felt that, authenticity equals integrity. And that's not what the person meant, who had this opinion. Authenticity does not equal integrity. Authenticity means that there's less spin, you're being less sort of performative, you're making mistakes because you go off script a lot and you're revealing who you really are. That's what authenticity means in the PR world. That's high risk for reputation management. I should know, I've been in doing it for 20 something years, and having a politician or a public facing person who goes off script, who speaks off the cuff, who for hours will stand at a rally and just say what they want to say, can be super risky, but that is pretty authentic. It is, even if they are negatively sort of impacting people, they are also positively impacting their audience, because their audience that resonates with them for that reason. They sort of feel that the things coming out of their mouth are real, and they're able to connect with that, even if they can reason that this person, Donald Trump, may not entirely have the same worldview as them. They can trust it more, because it's hard to trust something that's an unknown. If somebody's making their worldview, their thoughts, their ideas, their plans known, and they might not be making it known in the most clear way possible, but as long as they are still able to give you an indication of where they sit and why they sit on a particular issue, then you see, you can feel more certain about that particular candidate. And that's why we might find lots of undecideds voting for Trump. Now, I'd love to hear from you. I'm not an American voter. I'd love to hear from you. So please do jump in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed, please do consider doing so. You can even join the channel, join me on Patreon. And I'm an independent creator. There's no team here. It's all me and my brain and my mouth and my mic and my equipment. So I would love it if you could support the channel. And I'll see you in the next stream or video.